In 1963, Ferrari humiliated Ford in front of the entire world. Big mistake. Because Ford had something Ferrari didn't: unlimited money and unlimited range. By the early 1960s, Ford had a problem. They sold millions of cars, but nobody thought they were cool. Too safe, too boring, too normal. Young people didn't dream about Fords. They dreamed about Ferraris, and that bothered Henry Ford II more than anything. So Ford executives came up with a plan. Instead of building a racing legacy from scratch, they would simply buy one. And there was only one option worth buying: Ferrari. At the time, Ferrari was secretly struggling financially. The racing program was expensive. The road car business wasn't enough. So when Ford offered millions, Enzo Ferrari was interested. For months, lawyers worked day and night. Contracts were written. Deals were discussed. Both sides flew back and forth between Detroit and Maranello. Ford thought they had won. They hadn't. At the very last moment, Enzo Ferrari read the fine print. Ford would control Ferrari's racing operations. And for Enzo, racing wasn't a department. It was his entire identity. He had built Ferrari from nothing. Every trophy, every victory, every sacrifice. All of it was his. And now, some Americans wanted to control it from Detroit. He exploded. He reportedly threw the contracts across the room, insulted the Ford executives to their faces, called them bureaucrats who knew nothing about racing, and walked out. Ford flew home, empty-handed, embarrassed. In front of everyone, Henry Ford II heard what happened and said something very simple: "We're going to beat them at Le Mans. Not someday, now." There was just one problem. Ford had never built an endurance race car. Ferrari had won Le Mans 6 times in a row. 6. But Ford launched the most expensive revenge project in motorsport history. Hundreds of engineers hired overnight. Millions of dollars spent every month. Entire facilities built from scratch just for this project. And eventually, the Ford GT40 was born. Low, aggressive, built for one reason only: to destroy Ferrari. Its name came from its height, just 40 inches from the ground, closer to the road than almost any car ever built. But the GT40 kept breaking. Engines, gearboxes, brakes, every race, something failed. Ford was losing, and Ferrari was laughing. Ford needed someone extraordinary. They called Carroll Shelby. A former racing champion turned car builder. A Texan who spoke his mind and took no shortcuts. The man who had already created the legendary Cobra. Shelby didn't just fix the GT40. He rebuilt the entire team's mentality. He brought in Ken Miles, one of the most gifted test drivers alive. Together, they pushed the car to its absolute limit every single day. This wasn't engineering anymore. It was war. June 1966. The 24 hours of Le Mans. Ferrari arrived looking for their 7th consecutive victory. Confident, prepared, dominant, Ford arrived with 8 GT40S. 8? The pressure was suffocating. If Ford lost again after spending millions, it would be the most expensive embarrassment in racing history. The whole world was watching. The race began. And for hours, it was close. Ferrari pushed hard. Their cars were fast and experienced. But then, Ferrari cars started breaking. One by one. Mechanical failures, overheating, exhaustion. While the GT40S kept going. Hour after hour, lap after lap, relentless. When the checkered flag fell, Ford finished first, second, and third. Complete domination. The company Ferrari had mocked 3 years earlier had just destroyed them on the biggest stage in motorsport. The whole paddock was in shock. But the story doesn't end perfectly. Ford executives wanted something historic. All 3 GT40S crossing the finish line together, side by side, for the photo, for the moment. so drivers were ordered to slow down and form up. It looked perfect, a dream image. But because of Le Mans rules, the car that had traveled the greatest distance was declared the winner. That meant Ken Miles, the driver who had sacrificed more than anyone to develop the GT40, who had been fastest all weekend, was denied the victory he deserved. He finished second instead of first. It became one of the most controversial and heartbreaking moments in motorsport history, and it still hurts fans today. Tragically, Ken Miles died just 2 months later in a testing accident. He never got his moment. Ford versus Ferrari isn't just a movie. It's proof that the most powerful force in motorsport isn't horsepower. It's pride. So tell me in the comments, who really won this rivalry? Ford or Ferrari? Subscribe for more stories like this.